Happy Monday and welcome back to Business Class. So this episode is going to be a nice little heart-to-heart episode on basically what to do when you feel like you're in a position where you want to give up, whether that's like you want to give up with your business, maybe you want to give up with something you've been working really hard on, because I think that there's all times where we feel really frustrated that nothing's going the way we want it. And there are times when we think, do I actually want to do this anymore? So sort of like my routine and checklist on what I do whenever I feel like that and how to sort of pull myself out of it. So hopefully this is an episode that is either going to resonate with you now, or maybe it's one that you save for a rainy day and come back to whenever you are feeling a little bit down in the dumps. So takeoffs and departures this week. I think takeoffs is that I have got a really nice short retreat booked for next week that's basically going to be sort of like a mindset retreat. So it's just going to be it's almost going to be like, I think it's over 3 days, but it's 2 nights. It's almost going to be like therapy in 3 days. So I think one of the most important things for us as business owners is to understand our mindset and why certain things trigger us or why certain things we find harder than others. And what I'm hoping to get out of that is just to understand myself a little bit more, to be more secure in my values as a business owner so that when challenges arise that I handle them better. So I think that'll be very interesting. My departures is that I can't move my face today, and it's not because I've had Botox. I literally came back from Turkey a few days ago, and I had a very strange allergic reaction that I've never had before. Basically, what happened was, I assume this is because my skin was dry because I was on holiday. Like the corner of my lips, like basically cut, and then I was eating Pringles and the salt got into the cuts and my lips like swelled up and my face just feels tight and weird. So if I'm trying to laugh or smile today, it won't happen. So my face is going to be stuck solid frozen. So that's fun for you watching today. I feel like it doesn't really look that bad. It just feels really tight and dry and gross. So yeah, that's kind of, I wouldn't say got me down, but it's just like so many skin issues that I have at the minute. And that is just one of many. So let's jump in to today's episode and try and get your spark with your business back. So when I feel like I am down in the dumps, nothing's going right, and you do have those times where you're like, oh, I'm just like, I don't have the passion for this. I don't have the love for it. These are some things that I do to get my mojo back, feel a little bit more on track, and just feel inspired again. So the first thing is to think about, do you want to stop doing your business and leave it, or do you just need a rest? Because sometimes when you are very tired and burnt out, you feel like you literally don't want to do it anymore. And I think often that's not the case. It's just that you need a rest. So I will try and book in something, whether that's a day at a spa, maybe, whether that's a holiday, whether it's just a day off. I think you need that to understand, because it might be that you have a week off and you still feel exhausted and you still feel like you don't want to do it anymore. And that's when you go, okay, this is like serious now. We need to look at it. The next thing I like to do is sort of zoom out and look at the bigger picture. So are you reacting badly at the minute because you're having a bad month? Or is it that just there's something broken within your business? Because I think when you're in the business like every day and you're having a bad few weeks, it literally feels like the end of the world and you're like, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. I'm not very good at my job. But if you look at it on the scale of how big and long life is, it's a bad few weeks. Like, it's not like you've had a bad couple years in business. And I do that all the time. I'm like, oh my God, this week's going really badly. Everything's going wrong. But it's literally just a week. Like, it's not the end of the world. And thinking about if things aren't going right, don't blame yourself for it. Just think about how can you fix it. So if it is that you're not making as much money at the minute or you're losing clients, instead of blaming it on the clients and thinking, oh my God, that client's really annoying me, Think about why you're losing clients. Like, what can you fix in your business model? What can you fix in your systems and processes, and what can be improved? And sometimes it can just be getting a fresh pair of eyes to look at that, like speaking to someone, whether that's like a operations manager, someone else in your industry that can give you advice, is always super helpful. And another thing that I think is so important to do is reconnecting with your why and why you started the business in the first place. So if you started the business in the first place for more freedom and flexibility, and you're not being like awarded with that, then obviously you are going to start to resent your business because you're not having freedom and flexibility, which not many of us have as business owners. So I like to look at, why am I doing this? Because I think my why was it altered sort of, the more we've grown, the more my why has shifted. And I've spoken a bit about this before. So when I first started, obviously my why was like to make money and things like that. Like, obviously that's why most people start a business. But I feel like when I started to succeed more, my why was to like prove people wrong and to make the people that weren't very nice to me at school think, oh, I shouldn't have treated Vicky like that. And that's such a horrible why to have, because you're being fueled by other people, which you shouldn't have. And then I feel like when I got to a point where I felt like I have proved them wrong and they've seen it, and, you know, I've made them feel like they shouldn't have treated me in that way. When I had got to that point, I was like, well, what's my why now? Like, I've done what I set out to do. What do I do now? And I had to completely sit back down and reconnect with like, why am I doing this? And for me, it was things like impact and legacy and, you know, helping people. It wasn't like just money. And I think that's why sometimes people do feel a bit disconnected, because when you've got everything you've been working for, you're like, well, what now? And you can't really speak to a lot of people about it because they're like, you're in such a fortunate position. You've achieved all this. And why do you not feel grateful for it? And it's just like you lose your sort of spark with it. So I usually, again, I love a mind map. I'll do a mind map. I'll zoom out, look at the bigger picture, look at how I can pinpoint exactly what is making me feel down in the dumps at the minute and how I can fix that. And then by actioning it, I will put it into little actionable like ticks and to-dos. So if I'm like, okay, my clients are stressing me out at the minute, instead of me blaming them, I'll look at what can I improve in my systems and processes. But then I'm like, oh, but I'm too busy to improve my systems and processes. So I will start out with tiny ticks, I like to call my little tiny ticks, and start getting things in motion. So I'll put a tiny tick to be message someone on Instagram that can help me with my operations, or someone that I know, message someone that specializes in operations. And once that tiny thing is done, which will take me less than a minute to do, it's fully in flow and I'm getting the wheels turning a little bit. Because I think that when you put the pressure on yourself to do it, you're like, oh, and when you're already in a bad state of mind, you're like, oh, I'm just not going to get this done. I don't have the mindset for it right now. It's like, it doesn't need to be all you that's doing it. I think the next thing that's really important, if you can, is talking to someone that's been through it before. And you'll find that most people that have been in business for more than a year have been through times where they're like, I have been there. I've had times where I've fallen out of love with it, where I don't want to carry on with it, and just speak to them about what they did and how they got through it. But I think that it's totally normal when you have a business to not love it all the time. And someone that I always quote that I love is Emma Grede. And she has like her rule of thirds. So a third of the time you'll be happy, you'll be ecstatic, you'll be on cloud nine, you'll feel untouchable. Another third of the time you will literally feel depressed and like you can't get out of bed and you don't want to do it. And then the other third of the time, I think she said, you'll just feel okay. And you should be feeling like one of those thirds all the time. And if you're not, then something's going wrong. Like, you shouldn't feel okay all the time. You shouldn't feel depressed all the time. And you shouldn't feel ecstatic all the time. Like, there should be an equal balance of those three emotions. And I always live by that. And when I do have times where I'm stressed or I'm upset, I'm just like, this is just part of the balance. And every single time I get through it and every single time I learn from it. So when I have times where I'm like, I don't know what to do next, I just think, I've pulled myself out of it before, I'm going to do it again. And that's how other people should think, you know, like, you've had times yourself where you've thought, how on earth am I going to get through this? How on earth am I going to have that uncomfortable conversation, or how am I going to get through this certain event or situation, and you've done it. So that gives me comfort when I'm struggling sometimes. Like I'm like, I've done it before, and I've thought of things that have been really difficult at the time that I've got through and now don't seem like that big of a deal. So the next thing to think about is knowing the difference between setbacks and a signal. So setbacks are completely normal. We have them all the time. Things aren't always going to go our way. But sometimes what we're going through is a signal, and it's showing you that something's wrong and not in alignment. So sometimes it could mean you're selling the wrong product, working with the wrong people, or stuck in a business that no longer reflects you or your values. So if you're finding that maybe you keep trying to sell to people and the setback is that people keep saying it's too expensive, that is less of a setback and more of a signal, because you're like, okay, maybe I should listen to what the problem is here. If people are saying it's too expensive, it's too expensive. Giving up on the wrong business is not a failure, it's growth. Like there's sometimes moments where we want to give up on things, and like I just said, it doesn't mean you're failing, it doesn't mean you're doing a bad job. It just means that you're learning and you're growing. Like there's some things that I was so set on and like really enthusiastic about doing, and when I gave up on them, I literally felt like failure. But now looking back, I'm like, I don't know how I would have carried on with it in the first place. If you listen to a lot of my episodes and have been following me on socials, you'll know how much I love to speak about like the highest version of yourself and feeling in alignment with that. So like I have my reminders on every day that asks me if I'm doing what's in alignment with the future version of me. And I always like to think about how the future you is watching what you're doing now. So when I sit with myself and look back at things, I always think, like, oh, I'm so happy that I got through that. I'm so happy that I overcame that challenge. And one thing that I wouldn't say I do at the minute, I probably should get back to doing, but I used to make videos for myself all the time when I was going through difficult times. So I used to literally prop up my phone and say, so this has just happened today. I feel really uncomfortable about it. I don't know what to do, but I have comfort knowing that the future version of myself is going to watch this back and know that I've gotten through it. And I used to love watching those videos back when I was going through difficult times, because I was like, I got through it every time. I managed to do it every time. So when I think about times where I'm really struggling, I just think the future version of me is thanking me for going through it and for pushing hard, and just being okay with like when you are going through these times to feel a bit shit, to cry, like to feel anxious, because I think with me, I sometimes get quite annoyed with myself when I feel upset or when I have a cry. I'm like, oh, I'm failing. But it's not. It's just like sometimes you just need a cry. And I was reading something really interesting the other day, like that someone commented on one of my TikToks about how, especially if you're a woman in business, you have a 30-day cycle. So there are going to be some weeks where you do feel on top of the world and you feel on it and you feel inspired and excited. And there's going to be some months where you literally feel like you don't want to get out of bed, you feel ugly, you feel rubbish, you feel weak. And that's normal as well. So I think knowing more about you and your cycle is a massive game changer and has really helped me to understand why I feel certain ways. And I know some women in business as well who actually don't make certain decisions when they are in their, what's it called? The worst part of your cycle? Luteal. When you're in your luteal phase, some people don't actually make decisions or like do business meetings when they're in their luteal phase, because they know that they're not going to be in the clearest of mindsets, if that makes sense. Okay, I've just had a short lunch break that you won't be aware of because I've cut that bit out. But again, if you see a McDonald's Diet Coke, don't judge me, but we do always have a McDonald's break whenever I film the podcast. Just thought I had to address that for the visual listeners. So back to what we were speaking about. I have written down a few more things that I do to reconnect with my inner self when I am very stuck on what I want to do with my business. And two things that I always think about with business is A, does the business look good or does it feel good? So I think it's really easy when you got your business to think about how it looks. Like, do you look like you're busy? Do you look like you've got a big team? Do you look like you've got the swankiest office? But does it actually feel good to you? Because that is how a lot of my goals have changed over the years, is that I have been in positions where I'm like, I want to have a team of 100 and I want to have offices around the world and this whole thing. And now that I've sort of like had a little glimpse into it, I'm like, actually, I don't think I want a team that big. Like I quite like having a small team, but perception wise, like we did an episode on perception a few episodes back, people think that when you have a bigger team, it means you're more successful, but does it actually feel good to you? So maybe think about like what at the minute feels good to you and what just looks good. And then I always just like get really deep with myself when you think about how short life is. Like we don't have a lot of time here. We need to think about what is truly making us happy. And yes, it can feel sometimes to you like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing that I'm having to close my business and you might have to announce it on Instagram. Or yes, it feels embarrassing when you might have to cancel an event that you've got coming up because you've not sold enough tickets. But does anyone really care that much? No. Like I have seen things before where people I know have maybe pulled a product or pulled an event because it's not selling as they thought it would be. And if anything, I admire their honesty and how they've approached it. It doesn't make me see them as any less. And the world just keeps revolving. And that is how I really choose to perceive things sometimes, especially when I am doubting things or questioning things, just thinking about, look, like I've not got a lot of time to do this. I need to get it done. And I want to get to where I want to get to in the ultimate end goal. So I love watching anything where it's like, it sounds so cringy, but like a TED talk or a motivational podcast. Like that, I am one of those people that's the target audience for those. Like they do make me feel inspired. And looking and listening to people that I look up to in business, like every single person goes through times where we don't want to do it. We don't want to be here. Like we're exhausted. But if it was easy to run a business, everyone would do it. Like I know that from an outsider's perspective, that it must look so easy and so fun to run a business, especially when it's doing well, but it doesn't always feel good. Like it's extremely, extremely stressful. And that's why there's only a tiny percentage of people that keep doing it and that succeed. And I think there was a statistic about how I think only something like 1% of women are self-made millionaires or make over 7 figures in their business. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I remember speaking about this recently. And there's really not a lot of people that do it and make it over these hurdles. And like I always say, when your business gets bigger, the problems get bigger. It's up to you to get over those hurdles, because if you just give up, you've done it all for nothing, really. So looking at the bigger picture is probably one of the only things that's going to get you to do it, because there's stuff that I can say, there's things that people can tell you, advice that they can give you to get you out of a hole when you're in it, but it's got to be you that pulls yourself out of it. Like no one else can force you to do it. And not everything has to be public as well. Like say, for example, you've launched something and you want to pull it, just pull it. Like no one has to know. And also, like I said, no one really cares that much. Like they're not really going to remember. So another important thing to note when you are in this mindset is to not make any permanent decisions when your emotions are temporary. Like you're not always going to feel this way. So unless you've been feeling like this for a long time and you know that it's a permanent decision, yes, give up your business if that feels right. Do something else. But don't just do it if you're having a bad month, or even if you've had 2 bad months. Like it's best to really think about things properly, look at the longer term vision and thinking about, is the business actually failing, or is your energy just not in the right place right now? And a little quote that I've put in my notes that I always go back to is that success stories are built on the other side of this exact moment that you're going through. So those people that you do look up to in business, they've only got to that point because they've gotten over this massive hurdle that you're currently at right now. And one thing that I've been trying to really sort of connect with, particularly in the last sort of 6 months, is finding your identity outside of your business, so that if there does come a time where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, and you lose your business, that you've not lost yourself. Like your identity shouldn't be your business. Your identity shouldn't be the money you make or the followers that you've got. Like it should be you and your values. And I feel like the more secure you are in your values and in yourself and what you believe in, that it makes it a lot easier to make decisions and to not let things rock you as much. And that if there does come a time where you're like, yeah, this business isn't for me anymore, like it's not going to change you as a person. You're still going to be as interesting of a person. You're still going to be as confident as a person. So I'm going to sort of wrap it up here. I hope that gave you some motivation, some comfort that it's not just you that feels like this. Like it's so common, and it's normal to it's not normal to feel happy all the time with your business and to feel comfortable with it. I always think when I'm too comfortable, I'm not pushing myself hard enough. And there are some times where I just will things will be a bit easy breezy and I'll feel not challenged, and I like it because I'm like, this is really nice. Like I feel comfortable and I feel like I don't have much pressure on me, which is great. But I know deep down that it's because I'm not challenging myself enough. So I think self-reflection is huge. Having people around you that get it is probably going to be the thing that keeps you sane and that saves you. Like whenever I'm going through something, I've got at least 5 different people I can message and get a response from that will make me feel comforted and make me feel like, okay, someone else has been in this position before and they've gotten over it and they've gotten through it. So I hope this episode helps. As always, send me a message if you feel like you need any more advice on certain things within business. And yeah, save this episode, come back to it when you feel like you need that bit of motivation and you need that bit of a push. And I will see you next week on Business Class.